everybody, and welcome to Frankenstein's podcast, where it's all about the monster. We're a creature feature podcast about monsters and why we love them. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Praska, and with me, as always, is
your other host, Khalid Hussein.
What's going on, Khalid?
Not much, Joe. What's up with you?
Oh, not much, really. Just chilling here on a late Sunday night.
Yeah?
Yeah, just doing my thing.
Nice. Yeah, also doing my thing. Excited to talk more Godzilla.
I know. It's KAIJUBILEE, celebration of one of cinema's greatest giant monsters, Godzilla, for his 70th anniversary. Real excited to dig into this one today, and we got a really fun guest, Khalid, I'm going to bring in right away. We got Donny Winter, who is an award-winning LGBTQ plus poet, YouTube blogger, educator, and activist, author of 3 collections of poems, which I'll link in our show notes, and the host of Growing Up with the Godzilla YouTube series. Welcome, Donny.
Thank you for having me. What an introduction.
Oh, yeah. I pulled some of it from your website, to be fair.
I love it. I'm honored to be here. I am really excited to be part of both of your journeys in going through the Godzilla franchise.
Yes.
So.
We absolutely appreciate you being here to guide us a little bit. I know you have extensive Godzilla knowledge, so I'm excited to pick your brain a bit.
I look forward to it.
So being a new guest to the podcast, we have 2 general new guest questions that we ask everybody the first time they join us. So are you ready with those?
Absolutely.
So the first one, in all of pop culture, what's your favorite monster? I have an idea of what it might be, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's something within the sub-franchise. And if it isn't the same, what would you consider to be the scariest monster for you?
Ooh. So, my favorite monster in the pop cultural landscape is Mothra.
That's a great choice.
Mothra, Queen of the Monsters. I love her so much because she is so deeply rooted in Japanese and South Pacific mysticism and is just such a stark contrast to all of the other giant monsters that we see. Most giant monsters are terrifying, right? Or they are, creating narratives or commentaries about humanity's flaws. Mothra does in a certain degree as well, but she's so different than, say, like Godzilla or Ghidorah or the other, kaiju that she's, lumped with typically. Now, when it comes to the most scary, I have 2 actually. And mostly it has to do with the fact that I found them scary when I was a kid. The first one was Biollante. Found Biollante terrifying when I was a kid because my dad introduced me to Godzilla vs. Biollante. He was just like, this is a new Godzilla movie. We've never seen it. Mind you, this is like 1992. And the only Godzilla films I had seen were like the 60s and 70s films. So I watched this film and I'm like, where is Hero Godzilla? What is happening? What is this giant gangly plant monster that's made of nothing but teeth and tendrils? I found it terrifying. And the movie is kind of gory. So my kid brain was like, am I even supposed to be watching this right now? My number 2, I would say, would be, I don't know, have either of you watched the 90s Mothra trilogy by any chance?
No, not yet.
Ooh, something you may want to explore in the future. They're aimed at children, but they are pretty solid films. In the first film, there is a variant of Ghidorah called Death Ghidorah, which is basically like this lava spewing, terrifying looking Ghidorah that is just scary, just a very terrifying creature. Can you imagine beautiful, fluffy Mothra fighting giant 3-headed demon that spews fire? It's such a contrast. So I would say that those would be my 2 scariest.
Wow, good choices. I didn't really actually know about this Mothra trilogy from the 90s.
Be careful. I will talk your ear off about it. I literally go door to door offering pamphlets on the. I'm kidding, I don't do that.
Have you heard the good news?
Have you heard of the Mothra trilogy? Here is a pamphlet for you. No, so I think it was basically Toho. After they finished with the Godzilla franchise, they wanted to shift more toward Mothra. They're one of their other huge, marketable characters. So they made a trilogy of films mostly aimed at children. Although I think that they've gained a lot more love over the years than they received at the time. But they definitely create these very colorful, whimsical Mothra-centered stories, which I think are pretty cool.
That's awesome. I'll definitely be checking that out. Second question then. What do you consider yourself most geeky about?
Well, it depends on the day. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, I'm usually most geeky about Godzilla,
Yeah.
but I am also a diehard Trekkie. I
Oh, me too.
So that makes me happy. Sometimes people get very uncomfortable hearing the term Trekkie because it
Mm.
has such a negative connotation, or at least it has a history of being a negative connotation. I own it. I believe in owning Trekkie, and I love Star Trek. I actually watch all of the Star Trek series and films once a year,
Ooh.
and it's very time consuming, but it is kind of like, I don't know, it's that franchise for me where you can just turn on, you know, an episode here or there, and it's just kind of like comforting to have on in the background. But I would say for sure the one that I'm geekiest about is probably Star Trek Voyager. Love it so
Mm,
much.
good choice. I will just say, as my own shameless plug, my other podcast is a Star Trek podcast. Yeah. So Deep
It
Space Love, if you want
is.
to check it out.
Oh my god. Well, I'm gonna definitely have to check it out
Yeah.
because I love me some Star Trek
Yeah,
podcasts.
and Khalid's been on it a few times too, so it's fun.
It's a good time, Donnie.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, I need to know, like, what are your favorite Star Trek series?
It's a great question. It changes often. We actually did a big ranking, like one of the New Year's recently, but I'm sure it would change. I think Deep Space Nine might be my top. But recently, just because of like ending, recently the Discovery was really high up there. Was in
Oh,
love with the
love
Discovery. I'm sad
Discovery.
it's bittersweet ending. We our another shameless little plug. Our next episode of Deep Space Love is going to be a Discovery episode. So
Mm.
excited about
As
that.
it should be.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, that's a fun sidetrack, but
I'm a fan of like Lower Decks and Discovery too.
yeah,
That makes me
Lower
happy.
Decks is a blast.
There needs to be more Discovery love in general. But anyway, I am sidetracking you. I apologize.
No, it's fine. I mean, if someone says Star Trek, then I'm totally going to get sidetracked.
Yeah,
I mean, I was
he
just
had
yeah,
to get that out.
Well, you
yeah,
have that question in there for a reason because we do geek out about these things,
yeah,
right?
exactly. It invites it for sure. So I wanted to ask you about your YouTube show, Growing Up with Godzilla. Could you just tell for any listeners who haven't heard it or might be new to the Godzilla journey, like Khalid and I, like what your show is and kind of how it came about?
Sure. So I started the show probably, I created the concept toward the end of the pandemic, thereabouts, because I mean, it was the pandemic. I literally had nothing else better to do with my time. Already had another podcast going. It was called, it still is going. It's called Restitching the Tapestry, and it's kind of
Hmm.
like a pop cultural discussion podcast. But I was like, I really need to do something Godzilla oriented because I've been very passionate about that character ever since I was a kid. But I always would remember people telling me, they'd be like, Donnie, when are you going to grow out of that? Like, when are you going to just get beyond loving this giant dinosaur thing, you know? And I was just like, never. I'm in my mid 30s and I still haven't grown out of it. So, growing up with Godzilla at first was kind of my very petty response to people who would say that because I was like, all right, if you're going to ask us to grow out of it, then I'm just going to create a show where we just sit down and talk about it and we can listen to a bunch of people's stories and experiences being Godzilla fans. And then I think it turned into something a little bit more wholesome over the like after the first year because I thought that it would only go for like maybe 10 episodes. I didn't think it would. I figured it would be like just like a one-off thing. It wouldn't be a big deal, but people really started latching onto it, and it quickly kind of careened into infinity. And I had a lot of people being like, we really like this, like this is like you're carving a space for people to talk about like their stories and kind of like their entry points into being Godzilla fans. And from there on out, like I realized I was like, okay, maybe this is the niche that I've been looking for in this fandom because I feel like we all kind of have a role in the fandoms that we love. We all like try to leave some sort of imprint. We try to enrich it in some fashion, right? And I feel like for me at that juncture, when people were saying those really kind things, I was like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this because there clearly is need for it. And now I'm in the middle of season 3. I've had almost 50 people on to have conversations about how they've grown with Godzilla as a character in the franchise. Some people who have been fans since, the 60s and 70s, other people who literally just became fans within like the last year. Like, it's a very diverse group of people that have been on so far. And what I think is really cool is it not only helps me learn about them, but it helps me appreciate the character more. And it's helped me kind of learn about, myself and reasons why I've gravitated to the character, why the character was really pivotal during my development and a contributing factor to escapism, so on and so forth.
It's really nice. I feel like you hear a lot in fandom these days, just like toxic fandom and like negative stuff. So it's just really lovely to hear things like a show that's like a warm blanket. It's just kind of celebrating like this is just how it means, what it means to me, and it's fun, and like everyone's feelings towards it are valid in that way. You know.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I think the show also allows for a lot of conversation about the difficult things too, like the challenges. And I mean, in a fandom that, I mean, the Godzilla fandom is notably mostly, cis heterosexual white
Mm.
men, largely. Uh, and I know not only have I dealt with a lot of like bullying in the past in the fandom myself, I know many other people who have as well. And I think that at least my hope is that the show has allowed a space for people who may have never encountered another gay person who loves Godzilla, or who may have never encountered, a woman who loves Godzilla, a BIPOC individual who loves Godzilla. Like, it shows them that, hey, our fandom's pretty diverse. It's huge. We all have stories and we all have reasons why we love the character. We have different takeaways, and that should be celebrated.
Totally.
It's very well put.
Yeah, that's
Thank
great.
you.
So given all of that, like what was your like inception to Godzilla? Like how did you said your dad showed you Biollante when you were younger, but you were into it before that too, huh?
Yes. So my parents were Godzilla fans.
Oh.
They loved Godzilla ever since they were kids, and at a certain point, my dad notably had a bunch of old VHSs of the 60s and 70s era Godzilla films. And the first one I remember watching was the 1974 film Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla,
Hmm.
or the Americanized name was Godzilla versus the Cosmic Monster, because we like to be cryptic. But but I remember watching it. At first, my brother was watching it, and I was just like, "What is this?" I was like 8. I was like, "What is going on here?" And then I got slowly kind of roped into the story. I was like, there's aliens controlling a giant robot, and what's going on? And then like Godzilla just seemed so cool, like just battling this thing, and it was utter chaos, but I loved the chaos very much. And then it kind of expanded outward from there. And when I finally stumbled across Mothra, that sold it. That sold it for me.
Oh, totally. I love that. I think that in doing this series, like learning more about Godzilla, we're not doing all the 38 movies, of course. We're skipping around to like some highlights and things based on recommendations. But when we did the first one, which was great. When we got to Mothra versus Godzilla, I
Oh,
think both Khalid and I, and like doing that episode, like we're like, oh, this is all right. We're in now.
Mothra rules.
Mothra rules.
right, right.
Yeah.
Arguably considered one of the best Godzilla films,
Yeah.
especially during that time.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, super fun. One more thing I was going to ask you about. So you have published poetry books, and I think your website mentioned you were also like a professor, right?
Yes. So,
So yeah.
well, the thing that I do for a living to sustain my geekery and writing would be teaching. So I teach English at the college level. I teach a variety of things ranging from like the standard composition classes college students have to take, to technical writing, to creative writing. I teach poetry classes as well. And I always loved writing, but I never really put my work out there extensively until the pandemic, because again, that was that time of our lives where we were like, oh, like we're all shut in. We got, all the time on our hands. So I decided to just assemble my work and begin putting it out there to publishers, and it was scooped up, and it's been a wild ride ever since. If you're looking for, not to do a shameless plug, but if you're looking for a particularly nerdy collection of poems, my second collection, Feats of Alchemy, has Godzilla references, Star Trek references, so many like metaphors kind of inspired by both franchises. So if you're into that kind of thing,
Sold.
check it out.
Yeah. No, that was my question. I was gonna say, do you have any like specific like Godzilla or like nerdy poems in there too?
I have a series of poems in that book strictly dedicated to the mad scientists from Godzilla films.
Ooh, all right.
And they kind of tie in with like mental health, like narratives and stuff like that. So I love the mad scientists.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool when you can like incorporate your fandom into like your art, kind of just like paying homage that way is like so nice.
Yeah, it feels surreal too, kind of, because I guess when you're a baby writer, which I was at one point in time, like I never really thought the worlds could collide, but then with poetry, which is I would say pretty versatile art form, like I realized after my first collection, which was very much kind of by the book, no pun intended, I felt the confidence to kind of experiment a little bit, that for the second collection. So then I definitely felt much more confident about weaving in my favorite things. I do, throughout the book, have a bunch of footnotes, though, connected to each reference, so people can piece it together.
You got kind of like a Wu-Tang thing going,
Yeah, just
like
a
it.
bit.
Yeah. You should just go around being like, yeah, you probably like my poetry if you like Wu-Tang. Like
That is amazing. Yes.
I love it. I love it. I am definitely getting that book for sure. On that note, Khalid,
Joe.
will you tell us what we're talking about today?
Yes, I will. Thanks for asking. Today we are talking about the 1995 Takeo Okawara Godzilla sequel, Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. I've got a synopsis from our homeboy Wikizilla this time. No homeboy Google, because
Shout out to Wikizilla.
AI
Yeah.
sucks. Go Wikizilla. And I've got a synopsis that goes a little something like this. The final entry of the Heisei series, Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, was originally intended to be the last Toho-produced Godzilla film of the 20th century. Following the explosion of uranium deposits under Boss Island, Godzilla is transformed into the extremely powerful Burning Godzilla. However, Godzilla's out-of-control internal nuclear reactor threatens to explode, taking the planet with it. To make matters worse, construction of the Tokyo Bay Aqualine has awakened a colony of Precambrian crustaceans mutated by the oxygen destroyer used to kill the first Godzilla in 1954. When the creatures merge together into a huge monster called Destoroyah, humanity's only hope becomes getting Destoroyah to fight Godzilla and hoping it kills him before his overloaded heart destroys the world. But Destoroyah is not the lesser of two evils and threatens all life on Earth if he is not stopped as well.
What a monster!
They're creatures of the abstract that live off potential energy.
It's alive!
Damn, that was a good one.
This is easily the best synopsis I've ever read in all my years. It's so thorough.
Yeah, you're really putting those Google ones to shame. They're like one sentence of like nothing.
Yeah, honestly, I'm never going back, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good description. It's also like just shows how like wild the plot of this movie is.
Yes, a lot happens.
So real quick though, before I want to like share all of us to share like our thoughts on the movie in general, but I wanted to just do a bit of background because we mentioned this was the Heisei era and we did Biollante and we kind of skipped to this one. There is a lot of good in there. I haven't watched all of the Heisei era myself, but I would just say I really like the vibe of this one. But the previous two films before this was Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2 and Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. And it sounds like they had kind of underperformed. So it was decided that this would be the final film for a while. And it sounds like the initial proposed story for this was Godzilla versus Ghost Godzilla, in which this iteration of Godzilla would have faced off against the ghost of that 1954 original one. And that idea was ultimately scrapped because I think the previous ones like Space Godzilla and Mecha Godzilla were kind of Godzilla-esque also. They wanted to still like reference that original one, and so they decided to do it through the kind of oxygen destroyer mutating into a monster thing. So that's kind of just a background. And so after this movie, there's a break until the 1998 one, and then the Millennium Era, which I think started up in 99 technically, if I'm right. Correct me if I'm wrong, Donnie.
You are correct.
Yeah, so a little bit of background, but yeah, this is kind of this one and the previous episode we just did will be our foray into the Heisei era, which is I've really loved this era so far, and it's like being a person who's like a fan of like 80s, late 80s like horror movies and stuff. Like it really like evokes a lot of that imagery and those vibes. But I'll throw it out to you guys. Donnie, as an experienced Godzilla connoisseur, what did you think of this one?
So, just a quick tidbit about the Heisei era of Godzilla films, which is it's my favorite era of the Godzilla franchise because, I mean, it's one of the first instances in the Godzilla franchise where the films are episodic, meaning they add on to the story established in The Return of Godzilla from 1984. There's Godzilla vs. Biollante, the direct sequel. King Ghidorah after that, Godzilla versus Mothra, or in our country, in the United States, it's Godzilla and Mothra: The Battle for Earth. That was arguably considered one of the most popular films of that time, mostly because that was the instance where they really started leaning into nostalgia quite a bit. I know people are, especially for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, people are always going on and on and on about oh, well, now it's all about fan service and nostalgia and blah, 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 blah. The Heisei Godzilla franchise capitalized on that long before all of our favorites now did. But that's why that film was so popular. And then, as you correctly put, the few subsequent films after that, like Mechagodzilla 2 and Space Godzilla, weren't as popular. And then Destoroyah came about. And I think my reaction to Destoroyah, let me share my kid reaction. When I was a kid, my reaction to Godzilla vs. Destoroyah was devastation. Utter devastation. In fact, many of my mental health challenges are probably attributed to the losses in Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. That's me being overdramatic, obviously. But it's a film that really conveys a huge sense of gravity. I think it's much darker than the in prior Heisei films, maybe aside from The Return of Godzilla and Godzilla vs. Biollante. It very much kind of connects back to those darker undertones quite a bit. And I think it really kind of taps into that nuclear narrative where there's that nuclear specter hovering over everything, and that's kind of the unpredictability of nuclear energy and what it can do. That really is, as an adult, that I look at that and I'm wow, they were really creating some commentaries back then when you kind of look through, the fact that it's two giant monsters smashing everything and all of that jazz.
Yeah. Well said. How about you, Khalid? What'd you think?
I mean, really, really liked this one, actually. I honestly, when you said it got you in your feelings as a kid, I got it. Cause I just started watching them and I was in my feelings by the end. It's got kind of a Rocky charm to it of even the people who in this universe have been concurrently and consecutively assaulted by Godzilla are I'm gonna miss that dude. And it's so real. I don't know how the magic trick was pulled off, but it's just you made Godzilla an underdog, and you really root for him in a way that because we've seen movies now where Godzilla's outmatched and stuff like that. It's not necessarily that Destoroyah is convincingly overpowering Godzilla. You know, it's like when like they put like Yao Ming next to Shaq, and you're just like, oh, Shaq's not that big. Oh my god. Uh, but beyond that, I think it's really like that one scientist lady who forgive me, the names are all lost on me, but she is like, I'm never gonna be able to research Godzilla again. Like it's I'm sure like some of it's lost in translation, but even still, like I get what she means, you know? It's not like, oh, like I lose my like Godzilla grant. It's like this has been like a huge part of my life. And then beyond that, I think the nostalgia really worked for me, which is funny to say because like I just watched the first Godzilla like a month ago, so I'm being nostalgic about like a month ago. But yeah, seeing that footage from the original one with the oxygen destroyer and like going into the water to fight the OG Godzilla, I was like, oh my god, like, and yeah, that's her aged up, and like the same fears are still plaguing her, and like the metaphor of that, this whole thing about like how it's all kind of like cyclical, and even when you try your best like to leave the world a better place than when you left it, like whatever your intentions were, like your work is out there and can be misattributed or misinterpreted and like warped, and it's sad and it's scary and it's so human. I will say I'm realizing I really like the science focused parts of the Godzilla movies, or at least like the investigative parts of it, when it's really more about like trying to figure out like why a Godzilla or one of the kaiju are attacking, and like sometimes like they'll have like these like far fetched like theories, but it's like I love that when it's like people just bouncing in a room, and like the thing I could do the least with these days is like the military assault on like a kaiju, where it's just like they're just like throwing everything they got at it and it's nothing, and then eventually it's just they get to the good stuff, which is kaiju on kaiju violence. So yeah, I really, really loved Destoroyah as an opponent. I've already kind of touched on it, but this is like one of like the best kaiju fights we've seen in this series so far. And Destoroyah like really does, they do a lot with, and we'll get into the creature design and stuff like that, but like they do a lot with like kind of bringing something to this like well-trod territory of like kaiju battles of like, oh, this feels new. This feels exciting. This feels like scary. And I don't know. I think Destoroyah for me was like what Biolante was for you when you were a kid. And that
Mhm.
like I'm just like that kind of messes me up. This is intense. Like when it like punches through the chest of Junior.
Oh,
God,
yeah, that still makes me
that was
that still
dark.
makes my skin crawl whenever I see that scene. Ooh.
It's so graphic in a way that you're just not really ready for. And yeah, I mean, I could go on and on, but like, I would love to hear what you have to say, Joe. What did you think?
Well, I mean, I feel like I agree with both of you in a lot of ways, and I'm just to follow up on that sequence with the chest punching thing, like being graphic. Like I just feel like it's so notable because when we see so much like monster action in movies these days that are as more digitally rendered and everything, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. We've talked to a lot of great digital artists out there, but like it's just something like, I don't know, palpable of like, oh, it was like you felt that almost, like you don't usually think that when it's two monsters fighting. Like that was intense.
Yeah.
But overall the movie, like I'm with you, like I really, really loved it. I thought the nostalgia worked really well. I think that was really cool to like to go back to that idea of the oxygen destroyer, like in terms of like looking at canon and like kind of looking at that like cyclical narrative, like you talked about, bringing back the Emiko character, which I think I have her actors Momoko Kochi, bringing her back into this. Like I think this was her final film role, even if I'm correct.
Wow.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool to see that she was able to come back to do this and like bring that kind of gravitas of the original. So I really appreciated those elements. I really liked just the Destoroyah concept, like how it was like started off as this like tiny like Precambrian thing, and it mutates into like a bunch of littler ones, and they all come together to become one giant one. But like I really loved the sequence at the Tokyo Harbor like bay construction site or whatever, where it was like all the like human sized ones were running around, and like it felt very Aliens, like with the radar, and it's like over their head, and like they're coming towards them, and like even has like the
Dude,
mouth poking thing.
there
Like,
are so many aliens like
yeah,
points where I was just like, they must have like it's crazy if this is just parallel thinking.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's I mean, it's cool. Like loving Aliens, I'm like, this is super fun, like for like creature action, and it was intense. Like sometimes I think like you can almost I don't know, logic away the kaiju action of like in terms of like your place in it, where it's like that's not going to happen to me. But like they made it feel personal in some ways, like when the little mini destroyers were like attacking the one woman, the reporter, like in her car. Like I'm like, this is intense. This is like one of the more intense scenes I've seen in like a Godzilla movie for a while.
Yeah.
Like I feel it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, like really well done. I've mentioned earlier, like I like the vibe of this era. Like it's what they're doing is really interesting, like kind of like different kinds of science elements, like you're saying, Khalid. I really like the science pieces, but also the fun like arc of the ESP like characters, like Miki, that character that we saw and introduced in Violante back here as like kind of this like seasoned veteran now, when she was like a newbie at that first in that one we just watched.
Mhm.
Like that's really fun. Yeah, there's just a lot of cool elements. I don't know, really liked it.
I'm so glad you mentioned Miki Segusa.
Yeah.
Like, such a great character. She's, not to spoil the rest of the Heisei era, but she is the glue that keeps the Heisei era together, let's just say. So good.
I
She's so
want to, yeah,
good.
I was going to, so we didn't really cover the other movies in this. I was going to ask if you had like any like thoughts about that character too, like from where she starts to where she ends up, like the choice to make her that kind of like recurring like narrative like piece, right? Like, what do you think of
Yes.
that?
Well, so I think that she's one of the more dynamic characters in the Godzilla franchise, and I think it's because she's had a number of movies to have that character development. Like, we see her in Godzilla versus Biollante, where she's very new, like you were just saying. She's new to these abilities. She's new to the whole world of kaiju, of giant monsters, right? And immediately she kind of has like this adversarial relationship with Godzilla. But then as the Heisei era advances all the way up until Destoroyah, she realizes that Godzilla is completely misunderstood. She feels misunderstood, like being, I mean, not to use an X-Men reference, but being a mutant, when you think about it, that's the closest parallel that I can think of. She's very much sympathetic to Godzilla, or I should say empathetic to Godzilla in that sense. And I think that's what really brings her character in full circle, because in this film, she is literally, her abilities are being used to draw Godzilla and Godzilla Jr. into peril. And she's kind of like, oh my, like processing that, like, why am I being used as like this weapon when you think about it, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, the internal conflict with her was really well done throughout this movie. And even just like the very basic concept too that we have, like of this movie having the radioactive Godzilla, like, or the extra like ready to go, nuclear, right? um that was just an interesting like kind of upgrade to like the threat that Godzilla posed. I thought like that was fascinating, and like, yeah, that kind of that
There was
drama
like a
of like,
speed and entity to it, or
right, yeah, like
quantity,
this time, yeah,
like
they have to like,
he is a walking time bomb. Like
yes,
it's not just that he's a kaiju, it's that like he is dying and will take us with him.
the world, not just like parts, the world. Like we gotta do something, like,
Yeah.
and like I think like the solutions they come up with were like clever for like cryogenic missiles. Like that's an interesting idea. Or like you were saying, like the science of it, like that, like how are we going to lower his temperature? Oh my gosh, he only lasts for like 30 minutes. What are we going to do? Like these kinds of questions, and like how to like handle that.
Is this the first
Atop,
movie that asks what if Godzilla blew up?
Essentially, yes.
Crazy it took him this long, but also
yeah,
like
Mhm.
inspired.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
glad. I mean, like at this era of like storytelling, I think like handled it well. Yeah, would have been
Well, and
very
I love
different in the 60s.
what I love of what I mean, obviously, like, I personally feel, this is my interpretation, some might disagree with me, but I really feel like Burning Godzilla, which is this
Mhm.
Godzilla variant's, nickname, I suppose, is very much, I would say, a metaphor for the Cold War, like, especially in the mid 90s. Yeah, like the Cold War was pretty much over-ish by then, but there was like this kind of looming specter of like, ooh, there are world powers with a lot of like nuclear weaponry, used to kind of create like a sense of, hey, don't do that. You better not do that because I got this, right? And I feel like the peril that Godzilla presents in this, the options between like super duper nuclear explosion or meltdown, like that very much is kind of capturing the full breadth of the danger that nuclear power, nuclear weaponry presents. And I think that it does it in such a unique, metaphorically rich way.
I also get like shades of Chernobyl and like the anxiety around that, you know. That
Absolutely.
just yeah, like the idea of it, like just when you were talking about it, the idea of like a reactor like breaking down and stuff, which was like kind of new at that point, or like we didn't. It was theoretical until Chernobyl.
Hmm. Yeah.
So man, this series really, I just very very cool watching it like grow with the times and like kind of evolve with our collective anxiety around nuclear arms.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes the Godzilla franchise so fun. Like all 38 films for the most part. Like they definitely, I mean, if you look at them independently, they very much are a snapshot, of the socio-political situation happening in which they were created.
Yeah, and the way the metaphor just kind of like grows and changes, like I was definitely feeling like some like climate change like similarities. Obviously they were probably just kind of starting to talk about climate change and like that looming like existential threat, but like I don't know, I feel that parallel, especially maybe just now with like where we're at with it.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah, that's all great points. I think that now that you bring up that kind of Cold War piece, that feels like very textual in terms in the story. Like I definitely see that. I also feel like in like terms of the story itself, like Destoroyah feels like one of the more malicious kaiju that we've seen. I don't know if you guys caught. I mean, we haven't seen all of them, but like it feels like he was one of the more villainous ones that we've seen. He or she, I'm not sure if it. The kaiju that we'd seen like going up
Yeah.
against Godzilla so far.
Mhm.
Was there like do you know, Donnie, if there's any like intent going into like this will be like a truly villainous one?
My understanding is that they wanted to go with something really otherworldly.
Mm,
So, I mean, if you look at the immediate prior films, we had Space Godzilla, a variant of Godzilla. We
yeah.
had Mecha Godzilla, a variant of Godzilla. We had Mothra, King Ghidorah. Like they are two very huge iconic characters that people immediately recognize. Not otherworldly at all. I think they really wanted to go with something that creates a sense of shock value, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when you connect the fact that this film very much is rooted in the 1954 Gojira film, like both Destroyer's origin and Godzilla's origin, like I feel like they're really trying to show the complete drastic ends of the spectrum, whereas Godzilla is like this kind of this walking natural disaster character who is very easy to sympathize with at this point versus Destroyer, who is very malevolent and really has no regard or care for life at all whatsoever. Like, I think that really creates a good contrast that we have not seen in other Godzilla films.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to get at. But that makes sense. It's yeah, definitely. Um the I think we got to talk a little bit about the stuff with Junior, right? And crying Godzilla.
Uh,
God, that was
oof.
heartbreaking,
Oh my goodness.
right? Like I didn't think they were going to go that far. Like they even pointed it out in the movie. He's crying, right? Like
Yeah.
Like
The thought of Godzilla grieving,
right.
that's so you wouldn't think of that because again, Godzilla's just this walking natural disaster, right?
Yeah,
Like can it grieve? Right?
yeah.
honestly sadder than like the death scene in Endgame.
Right?
Right.
I somehow I couldn't explain it.
I think the human observations really set like kind of like the pathos for the film. Like Miki Sagusa, for example, like she very much is I would argue, psychically connected to Godzilla in some fashion. And knowing that she's the one who led Godzilla and Junior to the situation, and then the commentary of like, oh, Junior's gone now. Godzilla is completely alone in this world. Like that, the existential dread and the fact that Godzilla is literally kind of dying. When you think about it, like that's a lot to process in such a short span of time.
I'm always a sucker for stories about like superpowered beings dying and like what that would look like. You know, the one that comes to mind is at the end of or not at the end, just in the movie Logan with Charles. And,
oh yes,
you know, his psychic ability, like he's losing control of it in a way that like it's just a way. It's like a scary way of like world building that like I'm really attracted to or drawn to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I agree completely. That's a good parallel.
Yeah.
That's a good parallel.
Yeah. Yeah, Khalid, you're really on it with the parallels during this Godzilla series. What was your George Miller one?
Just that it's really cool watching like Ishiro Honda go from like the first Godzilla all the way to like his final installment.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
like, just this idea of like, I feel like not since like the Mad Max movies have we really gotten to see like a director like grow up with his creation like that in such a like special and like intimate way where he can kind of have wish fulfillment of like, oh man, I wish I'd done this in the last movie. I'll do it in this one kind of thing. And we get to, as the audience, like we get to receive the spoils of that fulfillment.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Do you guys have any final thoughts about the movie itself before we dig into like the creature effects of it all?
I have to always compliment the musical score.
Oh yeah,
by Akira Ifukube, who is very much legendary and central to many a kaiju film over the last 70 years or more. And the musical score in this film really creates a sense of finality to things. It really creates that gravity of like, we should be grieving. This is the end. Like, this is the end of this Godzilla series. So, major props to Ifukube's score. Absolutely.
And I will use my final thought to compliment the security guard at the aquarium.
oh yeah,
that was hilarious and awesome. And I don't know, like I get it. It's probably kind of like a conceptually scary thing, but like watching it in real time, I was just like, I don't know that I would scream so hard. I don't know. Would you guys scream that hard?
I don't know what I would
went
do.
For it.
Yeah,
I don't know what I would do. I would probably soil myself.
That was a great scene because I really didn't know where they were going with it. Like I thought it was going to be something like the monster was going to, or like the creature was going to get into the tube that he was walking in, and like he was going to be like the first victim.
Yeah.
At first, like it was shot like a horror movie. Like you're like, oh, the tension. Like what's about to happen here?
I'm just saying, Joe. Like you and I, we come from security backgrounds. You know, it's like
that's true.
Keep your cool, man. You know, there's protocol for this.
I mean, did you keep your cool when we worked security?
Absolutely not.
I don't think you did at all.
Lost my cool almost immediately.
Yes. You talk big, but you would be that security guard.
Wow, Joe, put me on blast. I guess
sometimes it's fun to be extra dramatic for the effect, right?
It really is.
Thank
it really
you.
is.
I love being dramatic.
Yeah. I like that. No, like I mean, obviously, like once the news like van comes around and like they're asking for interviews, like I'm gonna be dramatic. You know, I'll be like, "Yo, those fish just started sizzling." It was crazy. They just it's just their scales, dude. Like
sizzling. Oh,
about to go get me some Cheddar Bay biscuits. Like,
and you know that interview would go viral these days too.
I mean, I went out and got a catfish sandwich after. Like, it smelled too good in there.
It felt fitting.
Just like sucking my fingers clean.
I need you to go back in time and then do the commentary for the film for like a DVD extra,
Yes.
and because that would be pure gold right there.
Actually, that could be a gig you could get into. Just doing commentaries and selling them. You could do that.
Yeah. All
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah,
All right.
that'd be fun.
New side hustle unlocked. I'm into it.
There you go. Should we monster you guys?
Let's monster.
Donnie, what did you call the suit variant in this one? Fire Godzilla?
Burning Godzilla.
Burning Godzilla. Thank you. Okay. So the Burning Godzilla, going into the notes that I got about monster specific stuff here, we had Kenpachiro Satsuma returning to the Godzilla suit one more time. I think he did it during the whole run of the Heisei era.
Yeah.
So the original plan in the VFX setup time was to show Godzilla going nuclear by making him entirely bioluminescent, and the effects team was going to coat the suit with luminescent paint and reflective tape. But they did that and thought it looked way too unnatural. So they end up doing something different by placing, I think it was 200 small orange light bulbs on the suit, covering them with like semi-transparent vinyl plates. Ultimately, it was very challenging to perform in, and the cable to keep the lights on made the suit extra heavy. The suit was also fitted with a mechanism to make the steam come out from various parts of Godzilla's body, and the eyes were modified to glow. But Satsuma in the suit said that the steam was pure carbon monoxide and caused him to faint several times during filming. So it sounds like it was probably his most miserable movie in the suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was touch and go there.
Right.
That's
so
awful.
Yeah, that's rough.
Oh my God. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. Right. The Godzilla Jr. suit was actually about the same size as the main Godzilla one. However, they did use a smaller animatronic prop to in the scenes where they interacted together for scaling wise. But that suit was scale in reality the same size. So that's kind of interesting.
Can I mention something really quick about Kenpachiro Satsuma?
Yes.
I had the honor of meeting Kenpachiro Satsuma.
Wow, really?
G-Fest 2019. Or was it it was 2018, actually, I think. Quite possibly one of the most wholesome human beings. I have this memory of him, at this convention, watching a costume parade contest where he literally is teaching these kids how to act in their suits the way he had learned his entire life.
Wow.
It was very rest in peace. He passed away very recently, December 2023. But he was such a good person, and it was such a loss. But his legacy lives on in these films.
Oh, totally. That's so nice to hear. I love to hear those kinds of stories. That's wonderful. Yeah. I mean, he put a lot into this.
R.I.P. to a real one.
Yeah. The Destoroyah suit was another actor, Ryo Haria, I believe it's pronounced. Correct me if I'm wrong. If anyone else knows.
Yeah, that is correct.
All right. So the Destoroyah, we kind of talked a little bit about the background of the kaiju, the character. It's a crustacean kaiju, the incarnation of the oxygen destroyer. It ultimately revived a colony of Precambrian crustaceans that undergo sort of abnormal mutation, and they grow by combining with each other, forming one giant kaiju. So a lot of the information I got here is from the Wikizilla, but I learned that a lot of the design work went into it initially by a concept artist by the name of Minoru Yoshida. But the perfect form, which is the full-on kaiju form, was credited to Hideo Akamoto. There are technically 4 forms in the Destoroyah, but there's 3 that we see. I think you could include the Destoroyah's first form, which is a microform, never actually seen in the film, although artwork kind of gives it a trilobite appearance with horns. Then there's the aggregate form suit. There's a flying form prop, and the perfect form suit, which is the final kaiju.
Isn't the microform when they show the rendering of it?
I think we don't see it and it's a rendering.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So the aggregate form, I think, is what they call the kind of like the small like aliens version ones. And then there's the flying one, and then there's the full on kaiju that's kind of what rampaging around. They did use remote and wire manipulation to like kind of make the claws and appendages work in all of the forms. And for distant shots of the aggregate forms, the smaller ones in that construction warehouse site, they actually use Bandai vinyl figures from that were kind of like toys, basically, to make that work. I thought that was really interesting.
The miniature work in this one, I really was like impressed by. Like,
Man, the miniature work has been really phenomenal, like throughout this entire franchise. But like, really in this era, like it's been really, really cool.
I think it's because they don't like concern with themselves with like trying to make it look so realistic. It really like you feel like you're looking at miniatures, but like it's stylized in like such a like appealing way to look at.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I've really gushed about this in the past also. Like one of the things that I think these movies do so well too is just like that foreground background shots where you see like the people and then you see the kaiju in the background, and somehow like they always just manage to make that look so striking and cool. Like, you know, it's people in suits, but like I just feel like they sell it in such an interesting way.
Joe, those are for real. Those are kaiju with
Oh my God.
people in front of them. Dumb joke. Thank you for indulging.
You gave us the commentary. We have to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of what I got for the monster elements of it. It's a lot of interesting suitmation stuff. But I just feel like these.
Sorry, did they say anything about like the comparisons to like the xenomorph at all?
I didn't find anything technically other than just like a small nod in one of the Wikizilla pages that said something about how they were influenced by aliens, which is, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. It's cool. I mean, lots of things were influenced by aliens, to be fair.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alien 3
was also influenced by aliens. That's right. Other than this film and Biollante that we kind of talked about on the podcast, Donnie, what would you said Mothra is one of the more popular ones of the Heisei era. Do you have a favorite movie from this era that you're just like, I love to revisit that one most of all, or do you kind of like certain ones at different times?
So the ones that I typically revisit a lot are Godzilla vs. Biollante, Godzilla vs. Mothra 92, and Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. Although I watched Destoroyah sparingly, considering the emotional baggage, of course. But I do think if you ever get a chance to watch the 6 films of the Heisei era from start to finish, like you'll find that as an entire series of films, it really keeps things solid and consistent. And each film, while it does connect to the prior, has its own like unique atmosphere to it that really like the Godzilla versus Mothra, like there's a lot of science in it, but it also kind of incorporates quite a bit of fantasy, because like I said earlier, Mothra is deeply rooted in mysticism, right? Very much so, more than the other giant monsters. And in 1992, and to modernize that, they had to kind of like really delve into Mothra's history quite a bit. So there's such an interesting commentary about her history in that film.
Fascinating. Yeah, I'd be excited to kind of go through and watch all of these ones, you know, like you said, like kind of back to back. That'd be kind of fun to revisit. I like the idea that there's kind of a stricter canon there, like whereas in the Showa era, it seems like you could kind of just jump in wherever and be fine. I mean, realistically, you could jump into these ones, like we kind of were able to piece together most things that happen, but like I like that like connective tissue.
Yeah. And when you get to the Millennium era, it kind of echoes the Showa era, and in the sense that there's just not a lot of continuity like between the films. Like each film kind of creates its own continuity until you get to Godzilla against Mechagodzilla and Godzilla Tokyo SOS. They're called the Kiru duology films.
Okay.
Very much, they're so good. Oh my god! I hope that you watch them at some point.
So I will say that we have one Millennium movie that we're doing, and it's the Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. is one.
Oh,
So
good.
I'm excited about that. Yeah. I've heard some interesting stuff about that one and just like a little bit of previews. I'm excited for it. But yeah.
I will strongly encourage to also watch Tokyo SOS, which
Okay.
is
And that one takes
afterwards.
place right after?
Right afterward, picks up where the story leaves off.
Ooh. All right. I love it. Maybe it'll be a double feature.
No pressure, of course.
That's awesome. All right. Well, any other final thoughts on Destoroyah, you guys?
So, how emotionally compromised were you after the film was over?
I think like I almost just was like, I was a little, I didn't actually read much about this beforehand because I've been trying, like, I know it's all like out there, but I like trying to like kind of go into these with as fresh of eyes as possible. So like, I was like really struck that was the ending. Like, I thought there was going to be more of a tease that Godzilla wasn't fully dead. And I just like feel like there was like almost like a hollowness, like what? I mean, they had like the junior thing. Like that was kind of, I'm glad that was there was a little bit of a hopeful element, but I was like, no way. Yeah.
I
I don't
thought
know.
I thought it was a really touching ending, but
Yeah.
I also kind of laughed at the line. I can't remember exactly what he says, but like that one guy is just like, well, at least he took out Tokyo one last time, or like that's how like that's probably not what he said, but like that's basically like what I like reduced it to. It's just, well, at least he got one more lap around Tokyo.
One last good one.
It's his final battle,
Or one more
something
out.
to that effect.
Yeah. Just
I
like,
think, was that the general dude that said that? General
yeah.
General Aso? I think that's his name. He's so another character that occurs consistently in the Heisei era. He's so funny. He's so grouchy and grumbly.
Yeah.
Also, R.I.P. He recently passed away as
Aw.
well. Not to be sad, but again, legacy lives on the films,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
I also love the line. I think it was it Miki that said it. Is this our atonement or whatever? And but the guy who was next to her, like, for what? Like completely oblivious. That also made me chuckle a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Was it the kid?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
nerdy kid?
I think
Yeah.
it was him. Yeah. Which
I
it was a.
I love
it
that
was-
I say these I'm misnaming the kid, but I should know his name. Kenichi Yamane. There we
That's
go.
it. Yeah.
Am I a Godzilla fan? I don't know.
But yes, that was good. It was good. Yeah. Emotionally compromised.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh, so what do you think about like the destruction scenes? Like the beginning of the film, for example, Godzilla's destroying Hong Kong. Like how did you feel about the film just starting with that?
I think it was surprising because I feel like a lot of the ones, even some of the ones we watched in the 60s eras, like it took a while for that to happen. You know, like it was right out the gate. And I kind of liked, I think that it added a lot to that like ticking time bomb element where it's like Godzilla was almost on a constant rampage on this one. Like there was no like downtime unless he was like cryogenically stopped for a little bit. It was just like right out the gate. And we're like, okay, he's different. He's got, fire streaks going on, like what's going on here, and like, oh man, we only have like so much time left, and like it really set the stage for like what's to come, and I think that was really well done.
Yeah,
I'm always a fan of when Godzilla is like the villain. I think I'm a bigger fan of like Godzilla the heel versus Godzilla the hero. So I like that they just came out the gate swinging and are like, no, this is Godzilla's movie. He's not like being like subcontracted by the military.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's like, I remember I was a teenager when I watched Godzilla vs. Destoroyah for the first time. And I would like having watched Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, like he's very much painted heroically ish. Like it kind of like the Showa series, like Godzilla goes through like these shifts of like being a villain, being an anti-hero, being a hero, right? That was kind of what happened. And then like transitioning into Destoroyah, seeing Godzilla like destroying a city and just kind of being like this chaotic giant monster. I was just like, what's going on? Why is this happening? But I will say for me, what really takes the cake for this film is just the absolute empathy it allows audiences to feel for these giant monsters. Like in the prior films, there are instances where you do feel like that empathy, but like the empathy that you feel for like Godzilla himself, Junior especially, Junior just being newly grown, like just trying to just exist, right? And then this happening. Like it's so huge.
Totally. Well said. Well said. On that note, we should let's move on to our final segment, our What the Fandom segment, in which we share one or two things that we are kind of into at the moment that may or may not have anything to do with Godzilla, monsters, or even genre stuff and a whole. It's just stuff that we're into that we want to shout out and plug a little bit. So we always let our guests go last on this one, Donnie, if you need extra time to think. And Khalid, you'll set the tone. What the fandom with you this week?
Thanks for asking, Joe. My What the Fandom this week is going to be the Disney sequel Inside Out 2. I went on a little date night last night and we went and saw that, and it was really, really touching. They stuck the landing twice. I liked the first movie, even if I felt like the conceit was a little simplistic. Like, it's kind of easy to accept because you're in the mind of a child. So like, but they really, I don't know, they leaned into the concept and like they stuck with the main girl Riley from the first one, and now she's a teenager and she's got puberty to deal with, and they really did it in like a tasteful and like sympathetic way of like introducing like these new emotions and like how those emotions complicated. And there's it rhymes with the first movie. There's definitely like what feels like at times like a little bit of a retread, but I think that like they do a good job of like looking at it more through like a mature lens and not really being afraid to make Riley more of a villain in this one. I think Riley in the first Inside Out, she's very much kind of just like a victim of her circumstances. Like, she's moving and all these things are just scary and it's just like a shock to the system. Whereas like the character has more agency in this one, and it's interesting because like in her mind are the hero and villain of the story. Like, I think that's just like a really cool concept to play with if you're going to like play out an entire story in someone's mind. So yeah, Inside Out 2, it was unexpectedly very touching and charming and just a good watch. So highly recommend if you guys can go out and check that one out. Joe, what the fandom with you?
Thanks for asking, Khalid. I'm excited to hear that Inside Out 2 is great. I'm excited to see that one.
Yeah.
For me, I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction. I was recently just like kind of, going through some stuff in the house and trying to throw on something to watch in the background. And I stumbled across a spooky movie that I was like, oh, spooky movie sounds fun. Had to stop and sit and watch this thing entirely, so I didn't get anything done. It's called The Empty Man, and it's from 2020, and it's been on my list to check out. It just kind of sat on there and I hadn't really like given it that much thought, but it's like kind of this sort of like death curse kind of movie where it's like if you say the empty man thing and on a bridge and blow into a bottle, he's going to come for you in like so many days, like kind of like The Ring. But man, it goes into some weird places, like different directions than I would have ever expected. There's like a procedural element to it where there's a guy investigating what's going on, but it just goes into some odd, gnarly spots, like eldritch vibes that I was really impressed with. And I like the vibe. And also there is a fun moment where famed character actor Stephen Root shows up for a period of time, and it's always a good time for me. Love him whenever he shows up. So it was a good movie. I'd recommend that. I would also recommend what Nicole and I are watching here before recording. Actually, we were just watching was the new season of Star Trek Prodigy on Netflix. Season 2 is delightful. We're not super far in it. It's all out, and we're trying to catch up on our own when we can, but it's wonderful so far. Love those kids. Love that crew. Love seeing Janeway, the Doctor, back from Voyager. It's wonderful. So definitely watch that show. I'd love to see if it get a season 3. I don't know if nothing's been announced, but more views would help, I'm sure. So those are my recommendations for this week. How about you, Donnie? What the fandom with you?
So, thank you for asking. Building off from that, I won't spoil anything, but the new season of Prodigy is phenomenal. I made a guest appearance on my friend's podcast called the podcast is the Infinite Diversity Podcast.
Ooh.
And we talked like a series of episodes from the new season. It's just so good.
Yeah.
And like the first season I enjoyed, but it really didn't like quite capture me. But like season 2 of Prodigy has really gotten me addicted to this. So I am manifesting a season 3. I will write letters. I will tweet, if that's what we're calling it these days, being that it's called X now. I don't know. But I will tweet until the end of time for a season 3. But anyway, what I've been kind of obsessing over recently, I've been rewatching Charmed. I don't know if either of
Ooh,
you
yes.
Yeah.
watched Charmed. Well, so consequently, I keep focusing on people who have passed away. I know this is very dark,
Oh,
but
It's okay.
Shannon Doherty passed
Yeah.
away. R.I.P. Shannon Doherty. And I was literally in like transitioning from like season 3 where her character dies to season 4. So I'm like literally this is happening in the world and then this is happening to the character. I'm like a mess. But like the show, it's just so fun. It incorporates a lot of camp. It really tackles a lot of like mythology, a lot of like just fun, quirky things. And if anybody ever gets a chance to watch Charmed, I just always strongly recommend it.
we got to do that on the pod. They got a lot of creature effects on that show.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes.
Just love that era of like TV too, like those like the Buffy Charmed era. Like it's so
The
much
early
fun.
2000s
Yeah.
occult series. Yeah, that's
Yes.
so good.
Oh, so
Power of
fun.
3 will set you free. Oh yeah.
I probably kind of blame Charmed a little bit for my obsession with poetry because all those spells
Ooh.
were so good. Like they were so creative.
They
great.
tried to bring it back, right? It was like on CW for a reboot.
They did a reboot, and I think it went for 4 seasons until it got canceled. I watched the first 2 to 3 seasons, and I enjoyed it. I just haven't finished it yet.
Okay.
Okay. Interesting. I actually didn't know it was rebooted.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I again want to thank you, Donny, so much for coming on the podcast. This was really fun, and you added like so many great insights that we would not have had on our own. So thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing me into your space. It means a lot to me.
Oh yeah, anytime. And honestly, like when we're done with Godzilla, any monster things you want to chat about, the invitation is open for you to come back on for anything you want to.
Well, if you ever do a
discuss.
Mothra movie, just sing the Mothra song and I will appear.
Will appear. I love it.
Love that. No. You're, is there anything that you wanted to plug or anything, Donny?
Sure. Thank you for allowing me to do that. So you can check out my podcast, Growing Up with Godzilla, on YouTube. You can watch it, the live videos on YouTube, but you can stream the podcast on any of your favorite streaming services like Spotify, Amazon Music, etc. Please, if you are interested, check out my books. Also, plug that I completely I'm angry that I forgot to make yet when I'm talking about books. I recently got to work for an official Godzilla project. My good friend Matt Frank, who is a pretty prominent artist and writer in the fandom, and we collaborated on the story In the Shadow of a God, which appears in the Godzilla 70th Anniversary comic anthology by IDW Publishing. So go check that out.
That's so cool.
It's a really fun
Awesome.
story.
Yes.
Dope. Well, yeah, Donny, I just echoing what Joe said. Thank you so much for joining us. Like having guests like you on who really are just like so full throated with your fandom. It's really cool to witness and just be able to discuss with you. I find myself like appreciating new things about it because of that. It was just such a delightful discussion. And thank you to everybody at home and in your cars or wherever you listen to us for joining us on this discussion. Until next time, creep it easy.